storming heaven, wanting God to come down to intervene and to give him physical victory over the cancer that had beset him. And for a while it looked like it had happened. It looked like, yes indeed, he was going to be here. And it was amazing. And then, somewhat abruptly, before we knew it, he was taken from us. And at a time like that, it's hard for us to think of all the prayers and all the people praying their hearts out and pleading with God to do something and say, don't let this happen to Rick. And we say, well, it would have been such a great manifestation of God's power. But if we reflect a little bit, we could maybe see God responding to us and say, well, what about the last 74 years? Didn't you see me at work in that? And certainly we have. Rick would be mortified to have us up here praising him and going on about all his accomplishments and all his good qualities, and yet we're so aware of them here tonight. But through it all and behind it all, and in a very unassuming, low-key way, Rick was a man of deep faith, a person who kind of exuded faith, and a person who showed it in his attitudes and in his activities. That everything he did was really a response to God's presence in his life. And he did it in some wonderful ways. And so, we come here tonight to give thanks, as well as to pray for consolation and courage and peace. We come knowing that whatever Rick was able to do, God knows he did so much, that he would give God credit first, and he'd give Pat credit, he'd give his family, and he'd give his friends. He was certainly part of a wonderful family. Think of Pat, the great relationship that they had, the great sign that they were to us of married life. And we think also of the rest of his family. Here tonight, Pauline and Lisa, Anne-Marie and Joni, their spouses, their grandchildren. Think of Rick's brothers and sisters, his in-laws, all of you so much. And everyone that's here, and all these people that have passed through here tonight, all with a great sense of affection and a great sense of gratitude for Rick. When Rick had retired, somebody left a poem around that they had written. And I think to this day the family don't know who actually wrote this poem, but I think it's a good one. And in distilled language, it says so much about it. Let me share it with you. The title was, Some Call Him Rick. He's tough, he knows his stuff, and he's nobody's fool. He is fair, but now and then he has had to explain the rules in such a way that they cannot possibly be misunderstood, putting in their place those who might not have found it any other way. Some call him Mr. Higham, some just call him Rick. The ones who have something to hide respect him out of fear. The majority respect him because they just plain like him. No games, no verbal or mental jousting, no laying blame or unpassing footsteps, merely a simple logic running in tandem with a more than ample comprehension that has made him the best at whatever he does. So hard to find. That's why we call him Rick, and some call him Mr. Higham. We come here so grateful for this man and for his life, for his participation in his church, and in so many other activities. He was the type of person who resisted drawing attention to himself but yet was inclined to just simply get things done. He was able to bring out the best in all of us. For that we're so grateful. One of the characteristics that has always impressed me was that whenever a few would gather, maybe around a cup of coffee, at the first Friday breakfast or some other time, very often the conversation would become quite substantial. But Rick had a way of talking about an issue that it wasn't all that obvious where he stood, and he certainly was not the partisan type where he took one side and dared anyone else to take the other, but rather, maybe it was the engineer in him. He'd kind of bring out all sides, always probing, always turning over an issue, always weighing the pros and cons, so open. Pat will tell you he was an avid reader. He was all the time reading, all the time learning. He was a smart man, an informed man, and he certainly shared his gifts with others. Can we stand together now?